Alrighty. Hello and welcome. I am Maura with Coach Maura. And, and it's really, really wonderful that you are all here tonight. So thank you. Um, I am not super techy, so I am gonna right now share my screen and I'm gonna attempt to go through all of my slides and see how this goes. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna share. Okay. Can you all see my screen right now? Can you nod if you can see it? Can anyone see my screen?
Yeah, we can see.
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Okay, excellent. It should be a big screen of me, right? Hopefully.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so you are in the right place if you are looking for the conversion of health and heart talk. So that's what we're going to go over tonight. I am going to walk you through the three keys to losing the belly fat, rebuilding strength, and fitting into your old clothes again, no matter if you're 45 or 65. So um, I am See, I'm just very untechy here. I'm very sorry. Okay, tonight's promise. So you can lose weight no matter how old you are. You can lose 10 to 25 pounds. You can build strength no matter how, you're never too old to strength train and learn how to change your self-talk about yourself. So, okay, I'm going to try and hide the thumbnail. Perfect. Okay, hopefully you all can still see my screen. Okay, so if any of these things are running through your head right now, it's very normal. So you might think that the weight gain around your belly is your fault, that you're having cravings, that you tend to eat your emotions when you're feeling stressed or exhausted. And it's honestly, you would be very normal if you thought that, or your metabolism was broken, it's not responding to you anymore. Like you've been under eating and you're not losing weight anymore. So you might be thinking that you're too old to strength train, or it's just a lot of people feel like their faith and their health are two separate problems. And so we're going to kind of go over all of that and pull each single one of them apart and tell you why none of those are actually true. So in the next 60 to 75 minutes or so, we're going to go over three different keys. The first one is called a protein forward reset. So I would probably typically bet on the fact that most people here are under eating their protein, and you're probably getting 50 or 60 grams of protein a day. So we'll kind of cover all of that and why protein is important and how much you should be getting. The second thing we're going to go over is the muscle reshape protocol, and that's really why we want to build strength and why cardio really doesn't do it. And then we'll go over the identity piece, and that's the piece that I love. It's about the how the self-talk and really being able to use the pause and pivot component that we'll go over. So, oh, this is fun. So in the next couple seconds, if you could just either close your eyes or imagine yourself waking up and it's 6 months from now, and you're thinking, it's the day of the Christmas party, whether it's your Christmas party or your husband's or your family's, or it doesn't even matter. The typical response on this day would be to grab the ugly sweater in the back of the closet, right, and put it on because it hides everything. But this year, you actually have that little dress that's in the back of the closet that has been hanging there for years. and you pop it on today and it zips up and it fits. And then your daughter calls you and asks you to come sledding with the grandkids, and you actually say yes about it because for the first time in months, your knees, you can squat down, you can get up. And so that is all what is happening when the system is running properly. And so that's what you want to grow old. You want that to be your life, right? Of course. So why me and why can I help you? Well, hopefully I can because I've been doing this for since the 90s, actually. I graduated in the early 90s with my degrees in fitness and psychology, and then I went on for my dietetics degree. So I've been in the industry, I've been a personal trainer since probably 92, when personal training was just like it was just being born, really. And so I have dealt with every shape and size and males, females. In the last 10 years, I am now 58. So in the last 10 years, I really have focused my clientele on a postmenopausal woman because I know it. I have gone through it. I've walked the same walk as you. I've lost and regained the same 30 pounds. I've gone through treatment for an eating disorder. I have, I can relate. I have an autoimmune issue now. I have to modify things. I, I feel like I can walk alongside you because I understand your body and I understand the changes that you've gone through. So what we'll cover tonight is actually the first step is going to be the shift and why the formula that worked when we were 30 isn't working anymore. Then we'll go over the 3 keys of the conversion of health and heart, and then we'll move into the path forward. And so the 3 keys that I talked about in the very beginning, it's going to be the protein forward, the reshape, and the identity piece. Each one of those will actually have 3 subcategories. So if this is a good time for you, you can grab a notebook. We're going to go over the full framework, exactly what we use in the coaching program, and so that you can implement this on your own. So, but it's not you. And most people think that if they just restrict or ate less or had more discipline, cut calories more, it would finally come off. But honestly, most women are already under eating. And so there's only so much you can restrict. And so um, it's not just you. So on the surface, it sounds like that would be correct. But actually, when we're after 50, eating less isn't the solution. It's actually causing more problems. And not only from a standpoint of the fat wants to just hold on because it thinks we're in desperation mode, but it's also just the cortisol. And we'll go into all of this on what physiologically is happening with your body right now and why your body is fighting you. So the physiology of a postmenopausal woman, it's the muscle mass is declining at 3 to 8% per decade. So every 10 years after 50, your muscle is declining 3 to 8% unless you're actively resisting that with strength training. So resistance training. So what that means is, it might not sound like a lot, but every 10 years, if you, like your postmenopausal body, your metabolic rate, if you look at point number 2, your metabolic rate is actually dropping also 5 to 8% independent of age. So that means if your metabolic rate is somewhere around 2000, and that's the your metabolism is like to beat your heart and to breathe and to move to the bathroom and that kind of thing, daily functions. If it is dropping, say 7% every, well, if it drops 7%, it's 150 calories in this hypothetical, which may not seem like a lot, but over the course of a year, it could be 12 to 15 pounds. And so it does add up. And so um, that it's really important to be able to protect that metabolic rate, of course. And the bone density is something that I think is extremely important for postmenopausal women because it goes down by 20% in the first 5 to 7 years after menopause. And the number one thing that you can do is to not just eat as much calcium as you can, but it's resistance training. And so we're gonna, not that calcium is bad, I'm not saying that, but resistance training will help with that, the bone density decrease. So the next stat, 95% of all diets fail long term. We know this. And the cortisol dysregulation after menopause, it directly increases that visceral body fat or the belly fat. And cortisol, we will talk a little bit more about this later, but you keep hearing that cortisol, like the cortisol is bad and cortisol this and cortisol that, but cortisol is naturally, our body's rhythm is to be high in the morning and it gradually goes down throughout the day. So cortisol is not bad. It is what gives us that alertness in the morning. So cortisol dysregulation is not good, but cortisol is not necessarily bad overall. So we're going to go over what causes that dysregulation. Okay, so what this means for you, so God didn't give you a body to thrive on deprivation, right? We fighting our body with less food and more cardio is it's not the way we were designed. So we want to work with our body and we want to work with this season of our life, right? So this we can kind of think about as my house that we're living in here is about 50 years old. It was built in 1980. So it's like 45 years old. Everything is starting to go. It's all starting to go, like, the air conditioning, the heater, like everything is just falling apart. We need to get new ones. So we can kind of think of this as our body. We're rebuilding this house. Like it's kind of gone through a phase where things have shifted. And so now it's our time to create this house with new materials. And we're going to go over exactly what it is going to look like rather than just throwing some patches up and hope that things stick for a little bit. So, all right. So the first person I want you to meet, we're going to just go over just a few client wins because they're just amazing. But Laura is the first person that I want to introduce you to because she came to me, she was 57 and she was really under eating. So we bumped her calories very slowly and strategically over the first 6 months or so. And so we replaced that hour of cardio with 30 minutes of strength training and installed this pause and pivot. And she was down 14 pounds in that first 4 months. So she was just ecstatic. And I've been working with her for over a year now. So, but she lost more while eating. She lost weight while eating more. And so it was the first time that she was able to see that light bulb moment. But she's not the exception. Like she's a wonderful, exceptional woman, but these are other clients that you can see. Jan lost 25 pounds in 9 months, but she had visible arm and leg definition. Like it was amazing, her transformation. It wasn't just weight she's losing. Excuse me, she was losing body fat. She was maintaining her muscle and losing inches off her waist and her hips and her thighs. And she would work out and she would literally, because we were doing virtual online classes, and it was just like, oh, look at my arms. I can see oh, that's so exciting. And Laura and Marianne Lean, all of these, it's just, so Marianne Lean was one I really wanted to highlight because she didn't have a ton to lose. Um, and she worked very hard. She works very hard as a job. She travels most of the time. And she brings her resistant bands on the road, and she does body weights. And she slowly moved from her fasting, she was fasting and doing all cardio, into strength training and just doing some interval training occasionally. And she was able to get some great results without putting her body through that fasting cortisol increase. And Laura, again, same woman, um, she lost this weight, but her main goal for the first 12 months was when we talk about identity, her identity was to be on the ski runs with her son, keeping up with him. And because he is a very athletic and a very gifted skier. So she was able to keep up with him on the ski resorts for 5 hours, and she was over the moon, like that her body was able to do that. So they just had the right formula in the right order for the body that we have now. So let's go over the first key, number one. So why eating more protein is the fastest way to lose weight? And why breakfast? Why shouldn't we be intermittent fasting in the morning? And the plate order. So let's go over all these. Um, so the fastest way to lose weight over 50 is to eat more protein. And so if we're under eating, um, most women here, like I said, are probably eating 50, maybe 60 grams of protein a day. That's pretty typical when I start working with women. Your body needs closer to 100 or 140, which sounds just alarming, right? Because you're not used to that. And, but it is probably one of the fastest ways that you can anchor your day. And so in anchoring protein, three things will happen at once. First of all, the blood sugar stabilizes rather than if you had a, typically maybe an egg with a couple pieces of toast, say for that example. And now we're going to move into like maybe an omelet for breakfast. So it's going to stabilize your blood sugar more than a couple pieces of toast with just an egg, which has 6 grams of protein. So like that's not enough protein. And so when we bump the protein up, it's going to stabilize the blood sugars. It's going to protect the muscle so we're not breaking the muscle down. And it's actually giving us something called a it's our thermic metabolism, which means it takes more for your body to break down that when we ingest protein, your body has to digest it, and it's called the thermic effect of food. So you're using more calories breaking that protein down than you would be a carb or a fat. So you have the increase in the calories that you're actually just breaking down in your gut. So that's called the thermic effect. So those are the three things that happen all at once. And and the protein is going to decide whether you hold body fat or release it. So this is just the metabolic reality. And so making that switch to eating more protein, um, it's going to be the easiest way that you can lose weight. So old ways versus the protein forward, and I call it protein forward, but really it's just like protein first. You're making that a priority, right? So the old way would be calorie restriction that burns muscle and it drops your metabolism. So when you restrict calories and you're not getting enough protein, say you're eating 1,200 calories and you're only getting 40 grams of protein, your body is needing more protein than that because this is the building block of our bodies. So it will take some of your muscle and actually use some of your muscle for that protein. So what you don't want to do is have that drop in your metabolism because the muscle is what burns your metabolism 24/7. So you want to build the muscle and you want to keep it with a protein forward meal. So keto is not a bad diet if you can maintain that. Uh, your body does need carbohydrates, and it's very difficult to sustain a keto diet. Your body will rebound in and out of carb cycling, and the keto just tends to be difficult to sustain, especially if you have parties or outings to remain in ketosis. Um, and the fasting spikes in the morning cortisol that store the belly fat. It's especially true when you're in a fasted state. So when we wake up in the morning, as we were talking about, our cortisol is higher. But if you, it will continue to remain high if you're in a fasted state or the body is in a state of where um, it's not getting enough nutrients and it's working out too hard. All of those will keep that cortisol elevated. So really front loading with protein, making sure that your body is like, okay, I'm good. It can relax and that cortisol can come down with the day. So ideally it's high in the morning. As the day goes on, the cortisol will come down so that you can fall asleep with by the end of the day. So in the protein forward, it's going to protect your muscle, it's going to raise your metabolism and that thermic effect of food that we talked about. So there's no banned food groups. A protein anchored breakfast lowers that cortisol as the day goes on. And so just it is always easier, no matter what kind of diet that you decide to do. Um, it is always easier to add something versus remove something. So it's an easy thing to add. So just adding in that protein. So how much protein do you need? So what you can do here is actually figure out your target body weight. So say right now you are 170 pounds and you want to get down to 140. So what you would do is take that 140 times it by roughly zero point 0.8 to like you could go even 1. So it would be 140 to 140, somewhere around 125-ish, I guess. So you want, in the end, your goal would be 125 to 140 grams of protein a day. So, and in this example, I should have done that rather than mental math, okay? 190-pound woman has a goal of 150 for her weight, so she should aim at about 120 grams of protein a day. Okay, so if you're not tracking anything else, that is the number one thing that will keep you on track as you move forward. So, all right. Now, step number 2, anchor it at breakfast. So you're starting the day with 30 to 40 grams of protein. And as we talked about, that blood sugar will stay stable. Your cravings will stay much more subdued as the day goes on. And I have actually run this experiment, not necessarily intentionally, but this is an interesting thing to look at. If you're like, I have always have a crash in the afternoon or something, but on Sundays, I think it's just we tend to go to a pancake breakfast at our church after or get donuts or whatever. It seems to be carb heavy in the morning for us, and it sends my cravings kind of on this roller coaster for the rest of the day. But if I'm intentional and actually have a solid breakfast before we go to mass, then it is so much like I can make logical decisions. I don't have those cravings. My blood sugars stay much quieter. And so the first meal of the day is going to set the tone for the choices that follow. So if you ever wanted to do this, like not necessarily, I'm not saying that you should start with a carb heavy or meal, but if you ever notice later in the day, you can think back, oh, what did I have for breakfast? And think like if that set the roller coaster on. So you didn't think we were just going to stop at breakfast now, did you? So we are doing protein at every single meal. And if you have 30 to 40 grams of protein at every single meal, guess what happens? You hit that goal. You're at 120 grams of protein. So it's not that difficult if you break it into intentional meals. So it's just doing it slowly. And like I said, you just have to have that protein first, and then comes the vegetable. And obviously, things aren't like just a chicken breast and broccoli. Typically, they'll be mixed in maybe a stir fry or whatever it is, but you want to be intentional about getting that 30 at least grams of protein at every meal. It will just help your day so much. And then after that, then we're going for the fiber and the vegetables and the getting all those micronutrients with that, and then the fat. So, uh, like for example, okay, we have the 4th of July coming up, right? And in just a few days, you might be at a barbecue, and the one thing you always look forward to are, I don't know if you're familiar, but Scotcheroos. My mom would make these peanut butter Rice Krispie bars that are called Scotcheroos. They're so delicious. And so, whatever your number one craving is, that your in-law brings to the barbecue, you can have whatever you want as long as you have first had your 30 grams of protein and then your 10 grams of fiber, 2 glasses of water. And then after that, you can have anything you want. And I am telling you, if you have 30 grams of protein, 10 grams of fiber, and 2 glasses of water, you might have a Scotcheroo, you might have that peanut butter Rice Krispie bar, but you probably won't have 3 or 4. So it just puts everything, it just makes things make sense and your cravings are under control. So you have all 3 of those stacked up and they're running together. Okay, so I wanted to spotlight Heather real quick because Heather is actually on a GLP-1, and she came to me. She was eating like about 1,000. She was eating 3 cookies a day, like the big cookies, and 1 protein shake. And she was getting maybe 45 grams of protein on a good day. And she was um, losing muscle and she was losing weight. But so we had to get her calories up and especially her protein. She continued to lose weight, as you can see, but she stopped losing muscle. And that's so important. And so, like, whatever you wanted to do with your weight loss journey, make sure that you have ample protein so that you're not breaking your muscle down. And the reason is because the muscle is going to protect your bones, and we know that the bone density is going down. So we want to slow the muscle loss. If we can do anything, slowing the muscle loss to protect our bones, to protect our muscle as we age, it's the most important thing we can do. Okay, the muscle reshape protocol. I'm not sure I like that name. It certainly doesn't flow, but we are reshaping those muscles in this segment. So, what we're going to talk about is why strength and not cardio gives you the body you want, why 3 sessions is that magic number, and what progressive overload is and how you get there. So the muscle, your muscle is the engine, okay? If you are strength training and you are lifting weights, you are going to have an increased metabolic response for the day versus cardio, which gives you an increased metabolic response for maybe up to an hour after you're off of that treadmill. And so your muscle is building, it's keeping the fire going all the time. So muscle loss, we know accelerates after menopause. We're going to lose 3 to 5% of that muscle per decade, starting in your 30s, and then it speeds up. So we want to prevent that, obviously. Muscle burns 24/7, and it is the most metabolically active tissue that we have. So we want that. We want to keep it burning all the time. Cardio stops, of course, right when we get off. And so muscle is going to shape your body. Like you could, the scale might not even move. If you lose 5 pounds of fat and gain 5 pounds of muscle, your clothes are going to fit completely different, but cardio would not do that. So muscle is going to give you the shape versus the cardio. Okay, so doing your cardio, you're going to lose, if you lose weight doing cardio, you're also losing a combination between your fat and your muscle. Because, like I said, unless you're eating a ton of protein, um, it's going to take that the protein from your muscles. Pilates and barre really are good. They tone your core, they give you that stability, but they don't build muscle. And the boot camps and the Orange Theories, those kinds of things really are stressing out an already stressed cortisol level. So that's the kind of impact that is going to keep your cortisol elevated. Um, and that's not what you want. You want it elevated in the morning, but you don't want to keep it elevated. See cardio, let's see hours every week with little shape change. So that's true. That's what we were talking about. The strength training is going to tighten your muscle. It might not show on the scale, but it will show in your pant sizes. So 3 strength training session a week is the perfect amount of time because, like, for example, if you do a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you have that day of recovery, and that recovery day is crucial because your muscles, after it breaks down, it really needs to repair itself. And so you should not be lifting, you know, the same muscle group on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's like your muscles are just going to get broken down further and further, and they don't have that time to recover and build back up stronger. So it's really important that 3 times a week is beautiful. Now, I have some people that come in and if I'm coaching them and they've been lifting for a long time, we do a staggered session where it could be that they're lifting upper body or chest one day and lower body a different day. So as long as they're staggering the muscle group that they're lifting and working out, that would be absolutely a-okay. So, so compound lifts, what are compound lifts? They're multi-joint, larger muscle groups. They're like your squats or deadlifts or chest press. So, um, they, you definitely want to get heavier. Progressive overload is actually when you are doing maybe just one more rep or just a tiny bit more weight. I mean, this isn't going to be every single session, but it should be, try to do it every week so that you're constantly gaining and growing and that muscle is always getting stronger. Because the one thing that you don't want to have happen is your muscle adapt to whatever you're doing and it just stays the same. So this progressive overload is always going to be building. And 25 to 35 minutes, 3 times a week is what I recommend. All of the protocol that I recommend, we incorporate balance into a component because as we get older, balance is such a key piece to our longevity and preventing falls. And so incorporating any type of balance, whether you're strength training on one foot or brushing your teeth on one foot. So trying to incorporate that balance into your life is really important. And So all of that is what we should be doing. So 3 sessions a week, like we just talked about, not 7, just 3, sometimes even 2 when we're just starting, Tuesday, Thursday, or whatever it is. It could be just that easy. And it could just be a 25 to 35 minute. The woman, Mary Ann Lean, who travels all the time, sometimes she will simply do a 15-minute and that's it. So that's what she has time for. So that's what works for her. So we work with each person so that we can meet you exactly where you're at. So the compound movements, like I talked about, it's the squat, deadlifts, rows. It's typically the larger muscle groups also, but multi-joint. Um, and it gives us the most muscle building stimulus in the least amount of time because it is multi-joint and we're working our largest muscle groups. So it says 20 minutes of strength, 5 minutes of balance, and 5 of core. We always have a 5-minute core at the end of every session. So um, it is the perfect combination for the postmenopausal woman. So to have that balance incorporated into the strength training. Okay. Progressive overload, I kind of talked about what that was. So it's just increasing each week in a very small way. Like I said, whether it's 1 rep, and some days maybe it's just not there. As long as you're not consistently like doing 12 at 10 pounds, your body does adapt. It's extremely smart. And so what you want to do is just always push it just a little bit, 1 more rep, or just maybe do a tempo. If you only have a certain set of weights, you could do a tempo or something to make it more challenging. So, all right. So this is Mary Eileen. I talked about her earlier. She came to me, she was fasting, she was doing an hour of cardio. She was just exhausted. She wasn't eating enough. We bumped her calories up, and she didn't have a ton of weight to lose because she was only at 150. She's been sitting, I've worked with her for over 2 years now. She's been sitting at about 135 to 137, and she's perfectly comfortable. And she has tightened her body. So she replaced some of that body fat with muscle, and she cut that walking, that daily, the fasting, and so she's totally shifted the way she looks at her diet and her strength training and cardio. So, oh, I really wanted you to meet Dorothy because this is a woman that I met in person in Grand Rapids here. She came to me when she was 79 years old, and we worked together 3 times a week. And Dorothy is exactly a real life person that was struggling with getting up without assistance. She was really struggling with daily activities. So every week that she would come to me, she would say, I hoisted myself up on the counter with my grandkids just to talk to them, and I didn't even think about it until after, or, turning around in the toilet. She would get so excited because she's like, I've never been able to brush my hair in the back, just little things in her life that she just never thought she would do again. So it is never too old. And I do want to point out that this is a bar that she's holding it's like a deadlift bar, and you can put bands on it to make it very heavy, and you can do multi-joint compound lifts with that, and it is extremely effective and a very heavy way to be able to work out at home. So here's Dorothy. We can all get to be a Dorothy as we grow older. And I think, the unique piece of what I offer is key number 3, and the identity alignment, because this is so crucial. As I talked about with Laura, like she envisioned skiing with her son down the ski hills whenever she felt like giving up, or I'm too tired, or I just don't have it in me, whatever it is, it's like she wanted this, she saw this person that she wanted to become. And so she would always say, what would that person, that the person that is living my future self, what would they do? And so this identity piece is really crucial because it aligns with our faith. And this is the part that really does, it brings our faith alongside this health journey. And so let's get into this, because what really ends up happening with, I mean, without the identity piece, this is just diet and exercise, right? It's just a well-rounded program for a postmenopausal woman, and that is great. But your willpower will run out. But the identity does not. If we can root that identity in who you are and who you were created to be. And so we go over this in the program about who you are created to be in your own eyes. And so willpower, we know, is a limited resource. At 9 p.m., when we are like reaching for the ice cream or reaching for a glass of wine, like that's when we can actually tap into something that is more powerful than just willpower. So we're going to go over what that response might look like. And I think that this is such a crucial piece that most coaches may or may not, I think most of them don't actually include, because it is just something that is overlooked. So willpower, of course, is just more disciplined. You might have all the courage and faith in the morning, but the willpower does run out, as we talked about. And when you're alone, if you just have willpower, you're alone in that. Whereas if you have your faith, you are never alone in it. And the willpower based, it's like you're always starting over. And you're never, like, when we're talking about integrating it with our faith, we're going to go over exactly that 3-step response that you can use every single time, and it meets you in that hard moment, and it holds you. You can hold that faith in that exact moment of temptation, and it creates the true transformation. So let's get into it. So the identity, you know who you are, you know who you were created to be, and who you were called to be. So that's one of the first things that we do in the program, is kind of talk about that identity piece, because you can't start living into that person if you don't know who that is yet. And so we know we're all daughters of God, and we know that we're created to be this beautiful woman. But a lot of times what ends up happening is we tend to have this negative thought pattern and this sabotage effect. And so it will sometimes overpower what we want to have come up in that identity. So every single day you can have this statement like, I am a woman who chooses, whatever your identity statement might be. I choose God over eating out of comfort, or eating because I'm lonely. So whatever moment of temptation that is, so we can meet you in that moment. And that the spiritual strength, this pause and pivot, all of the 3 identity pieces are kind of woven together. So it's very difficult to explain one without all 3, because they're like these different eddies in the same river. And the faith is the river, and these little, like the pause and pivot is something that I actually I don't know, I just recently wrote a post about this, maybe 8 or 10 years ago. I heard a homily, and it like completely, it was the first time that I had ever thought about this pause and pivot to a saint. And it was a homily based on St. Francis de Sales, who I had never really thought of before then. But as I was learning his story, it became so clear to me that we had so many similar struggles that I felt this beautiful connection to him. And so it's what got me through and that time in my life when I was relying on habits that were not really all that healthy. And so I just developed a system called the pause and pivot. And so the moment that I felt that urge to habitually pour the glass of wine because it was 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock or, you know, whatever stress it was happening with me, it was just my default. It was my numbing mechanism. And so I was able to stop and pause and physically, this is the moment that you can just take a deep breath or take 30 seconds and physically put your hands on the counter or on your heart and step outside or whatever you need to do. But this is when the prefrontal cortex of our brain um, is so habitual that I'm 58, 85%. I just heard this stat. So I'm going to repeat it to you
Okay.
because I find it so remarkable that 85% of my choices every single day are run on autopilot. And that prefrontal cortex is just it's just path of least resistance all the time. And so when we actually think like, why am I just reaching at 5 o'clock for that automatic glass of wine? Like what? Why is that? And we pause, we break that cycle. We can actually take a breath and think logically, like, what is it that I actually am needing right now? Like, is it that glass of wine? Or is it, that second piece of cheesecake, whatever it is? And maybe it is that you physically are needing that. But most of the time, that's when we can actually stop and we can pivot to this beautiful cloud of saints that are supporting us. And they know what it's like to have all these vices and they overcame it. And that, so the virtue that we can learn from them is amazing. Like they did not lead these beautiful, perfect lives. They actually led lives that are very similar to us. So, in the third step, this
Nope.
virtue,
Sorry.
you can actually have one. We focus on one virtue every single week, and I urge everyone to do this. And each week, we're I would like to share different saints. So, for example, this week we're talking about the virtue fortitude. So, we're talking about the cardinal virtues right now. And so each day I kind of showcase a different saint that really is in my eyes. So, this is all kind of done by me and people that I pulled, like, what saint is like shows fortitude in your eyes and why. So like we showcase them and the struggles that they went through and the vices that they overcame. And so, say for example, we are talking about pride, and so a lot of saints, of course, overcame pride, and so you get to know their story and that is the pause and pivot moment that maybe I can relate to. Wow, I can really relate to this saint. I never thought I would relate to a male saint, but his story sure does resonate with me. And so we can dig deeper into that saint and call on him to help us. Now, some people are like, I don't really want to use the saint. That's great. You just go ahead and say, Jesus, I need your help right now. Or whatever it is, you just overcome that. Maybe you just call on the virtue, like your identity statement. Like, I am becoming the woman that doesn't automatically reach for this second cheesecake because I am a woman rooted in God's love, or whatever it is that you want as your foundational. So that is kind of the step 3 identity piece all wrapped up in one, which is the pause and pivot, the virtue, the identity. And that is really, of course, we all want to be leading virtuous lives. So that is the end goal. So, oh, and this is the one of the references I am going to give you at the end of this talk. This is just like a quick reference guide. This is a piece of it. So this is a good example, like if you are always feeling stress or overwhelmed, like a saint that you might want to learn more about, and you will because I have more information that you're going to get on Saint Martha. So, right, so Saint Martha is a great saint that you can say, yes, I am, Martha. We know the story of Martha and Mary, and Martha was very busy. And so if you're feeling so busy and you're turning to whatever it is because you're feeling overwhelmed, St. Martha might be somebody that you would want to learn more about her story. So these are just different examples of emotions and the emotional trigger and the saints to call in the virtue form. So, excuse me, I'm going to grab some water. Okay. So 3 keys, 1 system, and that order matters. So we talked about protein being the fuel, and the muscles, the engine, the identity is what makes it different. Like I said, I mean, the protein and the muscle are any other program, but that identity is really what makes this program a little bit different. So protein without the strength training, you could eat protein and to protect your muscle, and you will actually lose weight, but you won't reshape that muscle. You're not going to be building the muscle, so you're not going to change dress sizes and reform that body that you have, if that makes sense. So you're going to be smaller but softer. Uh, and the strength without protein is, well, you could strength train, but if you don't have that ample supply of the protein underneath it, um, you're you're going to be breaking even there. So, and both without identity is it's just willpower, right? So, um, at some point that willpower will run out. So, quick recap. Here we go with 3 keys that we have talked about is the first one is eat the protein forward. So again, those sub keys were eat, anchor breakfast, and so we had anchor it in breakfast, eat, lift weights, and oh my goodness, lift weights. There was a third key that's very important. And then the second, we're going to move on. I'll come back when I remember. The muscle reshape is the compound sessions, 3 strength training times every week, and then the identity is just having that prepared response where we can know where the faith comes alongside you and meets you at where you're at. So your body, your mind, your eating, everything is on the same track. And I love this. That's why I call this program the Conversion of Health and Heart, because it's like you are truly this conversion is happening both on a health and physically. So it's in your heart, it's in your body is transforming. There's a true conversion. So, okay, so before we go any further, are you the kind of woman that's willing to do what it takes to get it right this time? Because if yes, there's only one question left, and it's whether you want to do it on your own or if you want help with it. So Saint Joan of Arc is my right hand patron of this program. And the reason that she is my patron saint of the weight loss with the saints or the conversion of health and heart is because her her line is, I am not afraid, I was born to do this. And I feel like this is exactly something that I have been wanting to do since the 90s, when I always felt like there was something missing in the weight loss. Like, it's diet and exercise is great. It gets you only so far. So, and I believe it about this program. I believe it about me, and I believe it about everyone that's here tonight, that we are not meant to start over every Monday or every September or January, right? So now we have two paths from here. And so this is, I'm going to walk you through. You can do it on your own. Um, and this is absolutely, you can do it on your own, or you can do it with me. And I'm going to walk you through what that would look like. But if you're going to do it on your own, you will absolutely have success. You can calculate your own target proteins now. We went over that. You can get a strength training program from, online or ChatGPT. Um, you can build your own identity and virtue structure, and you can use the cheat sheets that I'm going to be sending you at the end of this, and you can just try and stay accountable and hope that you stay consistent. So the other path, there's going to be more personalized protein targets. There's a few different options of the Done With You program. And so I'm going to get into exactly what that looks like, because in a perfect world, um, it will look like a 12-month structure. But I'm going to walk you through a few different types of programs that, depending on the support that you're looking for. So I just wanted to introduce you to Twana real quick, because she is just this woman. She's 63, and she has completely changed her life. She loves biking. She is out there. She is so active. She is the perfect example of how to grow old gracefully. So this is what I was talking about. The perfect 12-month program would have your reset, reclaim, anchor, sustain. So what that looks like is the first month. If you were to work with me, we would be working on just figuring out exactly where you're starting, and
Get
trying
out.
to get that protein
Get out.
first. And
Jack.
then the second step is going to be the reclaim, where we're adding that strength protocol in. We're working on progressive overload. And by month 4 or 5, you're going to be able to see some muscle definition. We're implementing, and the pause and pivot in the you're going to have it mastered by month 8 or 9, and then the lifestyle integration. So that is the what the 12 months will look like, whether you do it on your own or with me. The next slide, I'm going to preface it because it was just a screenshot that I took earlier today off of my website, and it is going to have a lot of information. So if you wanted to look at this on your own later and kind of soak it in, it's on the website, coachmaura.com. So Maura is spelled Maura. So it's just coachmaura.com. Under the package options, there's 3 different options depending on the amount of support that you need. So I told you it looked very overwhelming here. So let's start over here. Path number 1. This is the very first time I've ever had my prices on a workshop, and every mentor for years and years has always told me that I should not do this, but I just feel like I want to be very transparent, because this can be, I can meet you wherever you are at. And so the first path number 1 is actually, it says right here, this is a workbook I've been working on and for well over a year now. And the first, let's see, eight weeks are done. And by Friday, it's in the final editing for the last 4 weeks. So this is fully, I'm going to give you guys as a bonus, because I am so excited about it, the intro in the first week for free tonight at the end. So I'm going to upload that all for you because I am so excited to get it out there. Now it says it's 109, but it's actually until it's fully released on Monday, July 6th. It's only $69 right now. And that is a beautiful, rich program. I think it's over 200 pages, which it says 190, but it is the whole framework we talked about tonight with the strength training component. Now, this is all self-paced and there's no coaching that's included. So that is just do it yourself and it's structured for you. The path number 2 is taking that same workbook and it's uploading it 1 week at a time in a group setting. And there's every other week we have a group coaching call. And so you have somewhat accountability. You have the accountability. You can join or cancel anytime you want to. It's $97 a month. So you can try it for a month and think maybe you want that or maybe you don't. But that is in the app. So you have constant access to me to, ask me any questions that you have. So that would be the mid-level of support with a group. And then the path number 3 is it's at this point my most popular. However, that being said, I really keep my groups. I only take a certain number of one-on-one clients every month, and I've always taken 3 clients per month. And this July is no exception. Last month I opened 5 spots because some took a pause for the summer, but those got filled, and so I'm back to 3. So if you want more personalized weekly calls with the complete 30-minute calls every week, just the 2 of us, it is a $250 enrollment fee and $250 per month if you're 3 months or over. If you want to do month to month, it's, I think, $259 a month for no commitment, just ongoing. So that's what that would look like. Now, I will probably answer a lot of questions at the end about those, but this program isn't for everyone. It's definitely not a quick fix, and it's not for somebody who is not ready to make their health a priority. So obviously there's a commitment financially. If you wanted to work with me, you have to be able to prioritize that, and I can't do the work for you. This is also for somebody, because I only work with a very small amount of people. It's not for somebody who wants to be anonymous because I only I have such few clients that I mean we're in touch all the time, and I like the flexibility of, if somebody is having a hard time and they need to do an extra coaching call, or if they need a call at a random time, I like to have that ability. So it's also, there's absolutely no judgment for whatever path you feel like you are supposed to be on right now. But that being said, I would be more than happy to set up a phone call and walk you through exactly where you're at right now with your journey. And if you want to set up a 30-minute call, we can talk about your roadmap on like what I would recommend for you. And I could give you some pointers. No pressure, no sales pitch. It's just we map out together. If you decide you want to actually move forward together, that's great. We can see what that would look like. I mean, there's no hidden fees. I've showed you everything. So, we can just figure that out together. So at this time, if you are interested in setting up a phone call, and I don't think I have this automation set up, so I'm really not techie if you can't see this yet. But if you text my number right there, 616-800-8445, if you text the word strong, it may give you my calendar to book time, but it may actually not. And if it doesn't, later tonight, I will actually send you my calendar so you can book that call so we can meet one-on-one and make your path forward, depending on where you are at. So let's see. Now I am going to go ahead and get on the chat so I can answer any questions, and you can unmute yourself. I am going to get on the chat so that I can actually upload all of your information that you would like, and I'm super excited to share this information with you. So let me see, chat. I would love to hear your thoughts on the first week of what the Conversion of Health and Heart, the Weight Loss with the Saints program looks like. So let me see my computer. And if you would like to unmute yourself, I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have. There's one. I feel so tech savvy right now. This isn't even causing me any problems. Okay, you should see two of those. So that is the emotional Saint quick guide, and then the longer version of the Saints pivot. Thank you. Beautiful. Wonderful. Okay, I'm gonna just grab one more of the intro to week one. Okay, this is, I think it's 18 pages. I would love to hear any feedback that you have on that workbook and see what you think. So, and at this point, please unmute yourself and see. Oh, did you get the workbook uploaded? Oh, let's see. It should have been in the chat. So you should see that in the chat.
I see it.
You see it, great.
Mhm.
Okay. Yes. So Susan, you can't use your hand and it's my dominant one. Okay. All right. I am sorry. Let's see. Not bad enough to have surgery. Lifting weight is a struggle. Yeah, that would, boy, um, is this Mike or is this someone else? That would be something where that would be tricky. Okay,
Yeah,
that
I'm
is
using my husband's computer. That's why it's showing up as Mike.
okay. All right, no problem. Yes, I kind of figured that. So that hernia it might be a struggle. So where do you live?
In Wisconsin.
Okay, and I'm sorry, what's your name?
Anne?
Hi, Anne. Okay, so what I would do is, as an in-person personal trainer, um, I would definitely either get somebody that's local that can really work with you, like right next to you, and develop a plan. It would and have them set it up because that's something that they'll want hands-on. So that's what I would suggest. And
Okay.
I'm not sure where in Wisconsin you live, but I grew up in Wisconsin actually. So where do you live?
I'm in Manitowoc.
Oh, okay. I grew up in River Falls, Wisconsin, right over the border
Okay,
from the Twin Cities. So,
sure.
um, and I know at some of the Ys here in Grand Rapids, they actually, for people over 60, I don't know how old you are, but it's included in their insurance plan. So that would be something that you might be able to take advantage of too. Manitowoc probably has a Y.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
But that's what I would recommend.
Okay.
So
I will look into that. Thank you.
of course, does anyone have any questions for me, or is there anything that I can help with? All right, wonderful. Well, please feel free to text me and I will get back. Oops, I will get back to you. I only have 3 spots for this month, so sorry that's wrong. But otherwise, please feel free to let me know what you think of all of the information I sent out. And thank you so much for being here. Yes, beautiful. Excellent. We'll have a wonderful night. And let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you
Uh,
very much.
you are so very welcome. We will talk soon.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, bye bye.